Hello, my name is Brian Heron. I'm with Drew Technologies. Over the next hour, we're going to be talking about aftermarket repair shops and how they get access to dealership diagnostics using a J2534 interface. With me right now, I have Skip Potter from NASTIF. And Skip, I think we'd like to start with the question, how do technicians get to the point where they have the dealership diagnostics capabilities? How do we get to this point today?
Brian, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. The 1990 Clean Air Act, implemented by the U.S. EPA, is really what started it all. I mean, let's face it, the EPA in that regulation created the requirement for the automakers for onboard diagnostics. So that little connector under the dash or wherever it was back in those days then created all kinds of opportunities and challenges for the independents. So that evolved actually through two parallel roads. A segment of the industry chose a legislative challenge that has come to be known as right to repair, and separately there were voluntary efforts that wound up creating the National Automotive Service Task Force, the organization I represent. So it was those two organizations together that really crossed paths many times throughout the decade, and in 2013 resulted in a right to repair law in the state of Massachusetts. From that then came a voluntary agreement that we refer to now as the Memorandum of Understanding that pretty much took the Massachusetts law and rolled it out across all 50 states.
Okay, thanks for the background on that. And I think it's very exciting that we have these new agreements, but what's most interesting is that we had this voluntary memorandum of understanding with the automakers. And can you tell me from their perspective, what was their buy-in on this? Obviously, the dealerships have had diagnostic capabilities since the beginning, but what drove the car companies and the aftermarket and consumers together? What was the driving force to say that, okay, it's time now that everybody needs to have this same level of diagnostics?
Well, in the early days, there were visionaries among the automakers that recognized that the average age of the vehicle back in 1990 was 6.5 years, and was going to grow as it did now to 2013 when it was 11.4 years. That was pretty significant change. Some saw that coming and recognized that using the independent service center as an element of customer satisfaction for their brand, for vehicles that were out of warranty, over 5 years old, maybe far away from a franchise dealership, was going to be something critical that they needed to consider. And I think that drove a lot of participation in our organization, NASTIF. And certainly it'd be naive to think that some automakers didn't come to NASTIF because they were being required to comply with some of the EPA laws that were restricted only to the emissions side of a vehicle.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. There's a lot of factors driving this. Obviously, there's the regulatory requirements for reprogramming and service information. But like you said, there were some visionaries early on, and I think that vision has really sort of trickled out into the industry, that the customer needs to have a good experience when they get their car repaired, because after a car repair, it reflects how they feel about the brand. Was it a good repair? Could they not fix the problem? And I think, like you had alluded to, a lot of car makers have now come to the realization that they can't control where the repair is done. So if it's done in the aftermarket, their best experience for the customer is going to be if they have the right tools to do the job, and they can complete the job in a timely fashion, and they don't have to throw a lot of parts at it. And so sort of the combination of the regulatory requirements and also more of a branding experience really have driven right to repair to this unique place where we're at now. And so with the MOU now and the Massachusetts law, one of the things that is really exciting for all of us is this diagnostic capability. Could you tell us more about what diagnostic capabilities a technician can expect because of these new agreements?
Well, I think the purpose all along has to give the independent service center the same level of technical capabilities, service capabilities that exist or should exist in a franchise dealership. So as the technology has evolved from the beginning years when it was kind of just pulling codes from a 1994 something to 2018, when the expectation will be that through J2534 devices and an off-the-shelf computer, we'll be able to then accomplish diagnostics, programming, and whatever other technologies the vehicle makers come up with to put in these vehicles.
Yeah, so by 2018, a technician in the aftermarket will be able to use an off-the-shelf laptop, a pass-through interface such as J2534, and a subscription to the car company, and basically have the same thing the dealership has for advanced diagnostics. And we're actually, later in this hour, we're going to have some demonstrations of that capability. Is there anything that is also afforded to the technician with this pass-through capability beyond just diagnostics that you can think of?
Sure. I think vehicle security is a big one. In 2008, the automakers allowed NASTF to host their Vehicle Security Professional Registry. NASTF actually vets through a background check locksmiths and other vehicle security technicians and places them in the registry, so that the automakers have figured out a way to sell security codes from their websites directly to those that have been already vetted into that registry.
So using the VSP registry, a locksmith can now use the benefits of this new agreement and legislation and have access to some of the security functions that a dealership would have. And that's through NASTF, correct?
Yes, NASTF manages the registry. So we do the background checks, we conduct the audits, we make sure the security is secure.
Okay. It sounds like NASTF is really a key for an aftermarket technician to getting this information and getting access to this. Maybe you could give us a little bit of a walkthrough of the NASTF website and the key areas that a technician would want to take a look at?
Sure. When you get to the NASTF website, you'll see the homepage is kind of the center of everything we do. Over on the left of the site, you'll see in the blue bar the index of all of the important elements of the website. The most frequently visited site page on our site is the OEM service websites. It's a list of all of the OEMs that have technical websites for good information, obviously. There's a page that describes the locksmith vehicle security professional capabilities, how that works, and how to apply for a vehicle security professional LSID number. I would encourage everyone to join NASTF. Membership is free in NASTF. And the one thing that will be most valuable, I think, that people will find in free membership is the 10 newsletters you receive every year that will include a lot of tips and hints from the automakers on in the OEM news section of that newsletter.
So Skip, the website really looks like the conduit of information between the aftermarket technician and the car companies.
Yes, and we take that responsibility quite seriously.
So the NASTF website should be in everybody's bookmarks, because that's the site that you're going to need to definitely access as you go down this journey. Skip, thank you very much for coming out today.
Good to be here.
We really appreciate your time. And up next, we're going to show you the tools and equipment that you would need to do diagnostics using J2534. As much as I'd love to tell you about J2534, we're very fortunate today to have a real expert on the topic. We have Bob Augustine from Christian Brothers Automotive. Before Bob was the technical training manager for Christian Brothers Automotive, he worked for several other industry companies in Scan Tools and J2534. Thank you for coming today, Bob.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Bob, can you tell us more about J2534?
Absolutely. J2534 is a fairly complicated topic. It's changed a lot in the last 10 years. We're going to break it down piece by piece and not only talk about where we are, but where we're going with it.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you. As Skip Potter mentioned in the previous session, J2534 has really been through an evolution. The original release of J2534 was designed for powertrain control module reprogramming. The original SAE standard affects model year 2004 and forward. And so what you have is a programming standard to be able to reprogram electronic control modules, primarily powertrain control modules, in the aftermarket model year 2004 and forward. That standard has been expanded. Many of the OEMs have gone backwards in their model years, some all the way back to 1996. And what you see going forward now is you have OEMs implementing scan tool applications connecting through a J2534 device. Now there's four main components to make this work. The first one would be the laptop or a PC. Currently Windows 7 is the recommended operating system. There are several OEMs right now that are testing and validating Windows 8. You can also use XP Pro Service Pack 3. Works quite well. The only thing you need to be aware of is Microsoft is no longer doing security patches on XP Pro. So you need to be very careful when you are surfing the web on that laptop or PC. In fact, we recommend you not use the laptop or PC as a web surfer. So the PC is one component. Component number two would be the application software. And I'm going to put up a chart here so you can see some of the programming applications are server-based, meaning they're run directly from the OEM server remotely through a website or through a cloud, and some of them are local. So the local applications, you actually download files to your laptop and program the vehicle right from your laptop. The server-based applications, the calibration file is being transported from their server through the device into the car. So the third part of that would be the J2534 device itself. There are a number of manufacturers out there manufacturing J2534 devices. You'll want to check with the OEM websites to make sure that the device you have has been validated for that manufacturer. And the fourth component for this would be a programming power supply. It is highly recommended you have a power supply that is specifically designed for ECU programming. The voltages on Asian and domestic cars should be between 13 and 14 volts. And these power supplies are fixed amperages because a lot of times when you're programming vehicles, cooling fans will be running or things will turn on and off. Some of the programming times can be 30 to 45 minutes. You will not have enough battery voltage without a programming power supply, and you don't want to use a battery charger because of the way they cycle. As mentioned in a previous segment, J2534 has really been an evolution. The original implementation of J2534 was designed for powertrain control module reprogramming. The legislation and the implementation of it starts with model year 2004. So in theory, you could take an off-the-shelf J2534-1 device and using the manufacturer's programming application, reprogram any powertrain control module in the field from model year 2004 and forward. Some of the OEMs have gone backwards, so in a number of cases you can go all the way back to model year 1996. Many of the manufacturers have now started to add additional protocols, which is where J2534-2 comes into play. The -1 standard includes all of the generic OBD2 protocols, whereas when we get into -2, the manufacturers decided to add additional protocols that were not part of that original standard. What that gives you the ability to do then is to get onto additional networks on the vehicle to be able not only to do programming, but also diagnostic scan tool access. Some examples of -2 protocols that were added would be GM's UART, single wire CAN, Honda's Diag-H. So the -2 standard continues to evolve as OEMs add protocols to that SAE definition. So what we have on the left side of the table here are J2534-1 and -2 compliant devices. A couple of examples would be the Drew Technologies Cardac Plus, the Launch J-Box. All of these devices on the table here are -1 and -2 compliant, meaning that they will be able to access all the protocols that are assigned to -2. As we move further down the table, we have application-specific diagnostics for J2534, such as in the case of this mongoose, you can buy a mongoose that is designed specifically for Toyota or for GM. And what these application-specific cables cover are the protocols that that manufacturer supports, such as in the case of Toyota, you'll be able to do ISO 9141 and high-speed CAN, which are the two protocols that Toyota supports. If you want to then move to another level, you can move to a device such as a Cardac M, which is a modular device. This is a -1 and -2 compliant device, but also gives you modularity, so as technology changes and evolves, you can purchase additional modules that plug in without having to replace hardware. So we've moved back to the PC. We'd like to talk about some hardware requirements, and we're going to also talk about software applications and the difference between server-based and local and what that means to you as a user, some of the things you'll have to understand to work through it really from a maintenance perspective. So from a hardware perspective, laptops seem to be the most versatile for the shop usage. Obviously, they're a lot more portable than having a roll-around PC. We highly recommend that if you're going to get a laptop, that you get something that is durable for the shop environment. It's going to be outside, it's going to be subjected to moisture, humidity, chemicals, things like that. I'm using a Panasonic Toughbook here. There's a number of good, durable laptops out there that will really do the job well. An internet connection, high speed is preferred. The applications that are server-based, you're going to want to have a good, solid, high-speed internet connection when downloading files. A couple of things that will be important to you. First off is you'll want a laptop with at least 2 USB ports. Many of the devices are connecting USB now. In fact, the recommended communication interface is a USB connection. I also recommend if you're going to purchase a laptop that you get one with a 9-pin serial connection. The 9-pin serial connection will be used on some of the devices like a Tech 2 if you're going to be programming older GM applications. So now we're going to move to software. So as you can see in the chart here, some of the software subscriptions from the OEM are server-based, and what that means is the calibration file itself is coming from the manufacturer's server, being downloaded through the internet connection, through the laptop, through the programming device, and into the vehicle. The advantage of the server-based applications is you're always getting the current versions of software. Some of the challenges with server-based applications, and I'll use GM Service Programming as an example, and Chrysler's Tech Authority website, is they're running a program called Java, and Java requirements really have you making sure that you have the latest version of Java running at all times. You'll get warning messages that you don't have the latest versions of Java, and depending what version you're using, you'll also find that sometimes the programming application won't even run because your Java version is out of date. So when you're using the server-based applications, there are also normally some things you'll have to do on the PC side to make sure the application runs correctly. So in this example here, we have GM Service Programming site up. If we were to select the service programming icon right here, we would launch the programming application. This connects directly to GM server. The application will go through the device, pull the VIN from the vehicle, and all the communication then is a direct link through the PC, through the device, through the car. There are many applications, however, that are not server-based, and the example I'm going to use here is Honda's pass-through software. Honda's pass-through software is a local application. Now, it's very important on Honda's application, on Nissan's application, on the local applications that you're running the latest versions. They'll always give you a version date and a version number on there. In the case of the Honda programming software, and the others are very similar, the application files are all installed on your local hard drive when you do the install. And so if you're not running the latest version of application software, there's a high probability that you don't have the latest calibration file to be put in the vehicle. Always refer to a technical service bulletin when programming one of these to make sure that the calibration file that's been selected matches what the technical service bulletin says is correct for that vehicle. So as we get back into the J2534 toolbox, there's also training applications available. There are links in the J2534 toolbox to do videos for specific OEMs. For example, if you've never programmed a Volkswagen or an Audi, you can go to the toolbox and watch the video specifically start to finish on how to program a Volkswagen Audi using the OEM website, using their application, and using a J2534 device. So we recommend that if you have not programmed that particular OEM before, that you take the 5 or 10 minutes required to go back and review the process, see how the application works, see what the requirements are for the hardware, and familiarize yourself with the programming process for that OEM. There's also other resources available on the web, such as automotive video, where you can download, you can purchase web-based as well as DVD training for J2534 programming, as well as OEM scan tool programming and usage. As we conclude our session on J2534, you've probably seen by now that J2534 really can be a simple concept if you take it step by step. The first thing is you really want to familiarize yourself with the OEM websites. Familiarize yourself with navigating their websites, what their hardware requirements are. Are there any special software requirements, such as versions of Java? Next, you'll want to make sure that you have familiarized yourself with NASTAF's website, which is really the portal that we use to get to the OEM service websites, as well as other helpful information on programming as well as diagnostic applications. There are a couple of best practices that you really want to implement. The first one is make sure that your PC that you're using in the shop is plugged into wall power. You do not want to have a laptop go into a suspend mode or a screensaver come on in the middle of a programming event. The second thing is you always want to make sure that you're using a programming power supply, such as a Midtronics GR8. This will allow that you ensure that you have a steady voltage on that vehicle while it's doing its programming event. So to get going using J2534, pick an OEM that you're comfortable with, learn their website, grab your J2534 device, and get started.
Okay, and now we're going to take a look at Toyota vehicles. We have a special guest today, Jill Saunders from Toyota Motor Sales. Jill's a product engineer responsible for Techstream and Diagnostics. Jill, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Jill, the question on everybody's mind is we'd really like to understand what is used in the dealership for diagnostics and what's available for the aftermarket.
So our dealership technicians use Techstream, and there's also a lighter version available to the aftermarket, and I'd be happy to show you about them.
Great, thank you, Jill.
This is Techstream, which all of our North American dealer technicians use for Toyota, Lexus, and Scion. It's a Panasonic Toughbook with a backpack that's built around it for more durability. The vehicle interface module is inside the backpack. We also have a Techstream Lite, which is a Mongoose cable, and you can plug it into any Windows-based laptop with the Techstream software. And both are available from Snap-on Business Solutions. You can also download the Techstream software onto your laptop and have a J2534 device to be used for diagnostics. For more information, you can visit techinfo.toyota.com. So this is our website, techinfo.toyota.com. Here on the lower left, you can see what's available once you get a subscription. With a professional diagnostic subscription, you get access to all of our service information as well as our diagnostics and reprogramming software. Here on the right is where you can see a list of diagnostic tools that are available in vehicle reprogramming. You can see our supported diagnostic tools. And then also, if you click down here, you can get a list of the approved J2534 reprogramming devices. If we go back and log in, the login is going to take us to the TIS homepage, which shows the subscription type that you purchased, when you purchased it, and the expiration date. In order to download Techstream software, we'll go to TIS. We'll go to Diagnostics, which lands you on the Scan Tool page, and it has our most up-to-date version of Scan Tool software, as well as how to use a Techstream Lite. Here on the right-hand side, we have Techstream software installation document on how to install the software, known bugs list, a new features document, and you also have the ability to report a Techstream issue, and if a response is required, we'll get back to you within 48 hours. Now I'll be demonstrating to you Techstream software using the Techstream Lite function. The software is the exact same on this PC as it is on if you were to buy a Techstream unit itself. So what we're going to do first is connect to the vehicle. And right now, Techstream is communicating with the ECU to determine if it can communicate with the vehicle. And we can see here that it was successful in the first communication step. It has the vehicle information and the VIN number. It has one option that it can't determine. In this case, this vehicle has Smart Key, so we would select Smart Key, and then we'll click Next. Now, Techstream is determining all the possible ECUs for this model. We can see all the possible ECUs are here in yellow. We don't know if they're communicating or not. Their status is unknown. So in order to find that out, we'll do a health check. Techstream is going to see which of these 14 ECUs that it can try and communicate with. So our health check is complete. And here on the health check screen, we can see all of the vehicle systems. In this case, we have a couple of DTCs set in the ABS, VSC, and track ECU, and in the air conditioner ECU, and we can see that they are current DTCs. We'll go back to our system select, and you can see now that there's no more yellow on any of these ECUs. This vehicle has all these ECUs and they are communicating. We can go into the engine and ECT ECU. And you can see we have no DTCs set, but there's a few functions that we can look at. We can look at the data list, which shows all of the live data of the vehicle. Vehicle speed is 0 because we're not moving anywhere. And one nice thing about Techstream is that you can go in and you can perform some active tests. From the engine and ECT, we can control the injection volume. We can control the injection volume for the air fuel sensor, activate the VSV for evap, control fuel pump speed. We can connect the TC and TE1, control idle fuel cut, activate the water pump, control the select cylinder fuel cut. So we'll exit out of here and we'll go into the body ECU, where we can more easily demonstrate some of the functions of the active test. In the body ECU, there's the security indicator, security horn, hazard, wireless buzzer. We can open the trunk, control the front fog light relay, the headlight relay, headlight high, tail light relay, dimmer switch, illuminated entry system, vehicle horn, door lock. If you click on one of these, gives you the description. This test will lock or unlock all the doors. If you push lock, it locks. We'll click on the door lock function, and it gives you the description that this test will lock or unlock all the doors. So in order to execute this, we have to close all the doors. So I'll go ahead and close the door. And we'll hit OK. And we get the little door lock screen, so off. So if we go on, the doors are locked. If we go back the other way, now to go to unlock, now the doors are unlocked. Go back to the active test. We'll open the trunk. This test will open the trunk or back door. So click, and now the trunk is open. Next, we'll click on the hazard. This test turns the hazard lights on and off. So on. Now our hazard lights are blinking. Off. Headlight relay. This test turns the headlight relay on and off. So our headlights are off. So if we turn them on, the headlight relay, then the headlights come on. Off. So these active tests demonstrate that the signal, when the ECU commands, for example, the hazard lights to come on, the hazard lights can come on. So it can help you diagnose whatever the customer's concern is to determine what is and is not working. Something else that's very nice about Techstream is when you have an item selected and highlighted either on the active test or your data list, or even if the vehicle has a DTC, you can click TIS keyword and it will take you to TIS and bring up the page in the repair manual. So for example, for a DTC, if you clicked it, then it would take you to the repair manual page for that DTC in TIS. So now we'll go out of the active test selection and we'll look at the different utilities that are available. So for the body ECU, we can go in using Techstream and we can customize certain features. We can customize the wireless door lock. So unlock to operation. So in this case, it's turned on. So in order to unlock all the doors on your key fob, you have to click the unlock button twice. Clicking it once unlocks the driver's door and clicking it twice will unlock all the other doors. The panic function is on. So if you hit your panic button, it'll work. If we turned it to off, then it wouldn't work. And if we click, it gives an item description. We'll go over to the ABS VSC track ECU. And if we click on the utility, in some cases, the utility is required to perform some function. So for example, in order to bleed air from the brakes, we would need to use this air bleeding utility. And so if we click on it, it tells us that this is the air bleeding utility and it's used to purge air from the hydraulic braking system. Now if we needed to bleed the air from the brakes, we would continue through the screen prompts and it would tell us step by step that we need to do in order to perform this function. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me as I demonstrated some of the functions of Techstream. We were barely able to scratch the surface, but as you can see, you can get dealer-level diagnostics in your shop. For more information, please visit techinfo.toyota.com.
With us now we have Bob Stewart from General Motors. Bob is Manager of Aftermarket Service and Support. Bob, thank you for coming today.
Thanks for inviting us, Brian.
Bob, we'd really like to see the diagnostic system that's used at GM dealerships and also what's available in the aftermarket.
All right, Brian, we'll take you through both.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Here's the GM MDI, Multiple Diagnostic Interface Tool. It's used within GM dealers globally for service programming, Tech2Win, and global diagnostic systems too. If you don't have the availability of one of those devices, you can use a J2534-2 device for service programming and global diagnostic too. If you want to use Tech2Win, you'll need a device that's also compliant with ISO 22900. For more information on this, please visit acdelcotds.com. We're here at our website. If you haven't been here before, you'll need to register and create an account. We already have an account, so let me log in and show you where to go. First, you're going to get these terms and conditions that you need to agree to. From there, we're going to go to service and programming information, so I can show you all of the available options. On our left-hand side is service information, would be your service repair manual information. And on the right, we have what we call a complete GM service support package, which is both service information and all of our service software packages. The next one down is Tech2 and service programming package, which has, as it says, it has Tech2 software, which is also our Tech2Win software, which is emulated on a Windows PC, and it has service programming for updating modules on vehicles. Then from there you can go to the service programming only, which comes in 3 different options of time length, a 2-day, a 3-month, and a 1 year. And then from there we have a Tech 2 Diagnostics, which is nothing more than Tech 2 software updates. And then we have Global Diagnostics 2, which you'll notice on Global Diagnostics 2 is there's 3 options of links. There's a 3-day, a 1-month, and a 1 year. But also you need to check the vehicles that are covered, which are here on the screen. Starting in model year 2014, all North American vehicles are covered by Global Diagnostic 2. From there we have Tech 2 Win, which is only available in a 3-day access, which is on the screen, Windows 2 or Windows emulated. And then at the bottom we have what we call a vehicle communication interface package, which would be what you'd use with a J2534 device or the GM MDI to run both Windows, Tech 2 Windows and GDS2. But keep in mind that the GDS, or for Tech 2 Windows, you need to have an ISO 22900 compliant device. All right, let's take a look at Global Diagnostics 2. From here you click on the globe in the upper left-hand corner and it auto detects the vehicle. We happen to be in a GMC Yukon 2014 model year here. From there, let's click Enter. Let's go to Vehicle Diagnostics. Let's read vehicle-wide DTCs and ID information. This is going to take a little bit of time because it's going to ping each module to see if it's online and to check the status of the module. As you'll see, this is a long list on the whole screen and it has a scroll, so the list is beyond the length of the screen. And once that's complete, it comes up with a full report of the vehicle DTC and ID information and the status. As you'll see, we have the VIN number, all the different modules listed and whether they have DTCs or not, and the identifiers, the 8-digit number for each module listed that's available on this vehicle. From there, let's go back to the beginning and show you some of the bidirectional control that the software has the ability to do. From there, we'll click the Home. Go back into the diagnostic software, which will identify the vehicle again. Go back into Vehicle Diagnostics. Oops, I went in the wrong place. Go to Module Diagnostics. And let's pick the instrument cluster. From here, there's a list of, you can read the DTCs, you can get the module information, you can get a data display. Let's take a look at the data display. So it shows the instrument cluster, it shows the battery voltage, the brake fluid level switch status, driver information center, fuel information switch, driver information center switch, ignition switch status, passenger seatbelt indicator commanded, passenger seatbelt reminder indicator enable status, washer fluid level, reset switch, and the trip fuel switch status. Let's go into the functional control. We can take here the instrument cluster gauge sweep. We have 2 choices down here to inactive or active, but we'll choose the active, which is sweeping the gauges, all the needles on the instrument cluster here. to check the gauges for proper operation. All right, I'm going to go and actuate something else now. Back into Module Diagnostics. Go into the seat memory module, in the function control list. And I'm going to move the seat that I'm in from the scan tool. You can move it and test it in both directions for the full movement of the seat. All right, I'm going to go and actuate something else now. Back into Module Diagnostics. I can select the exterior lighting. Select the headlights, turn the headlights on and off. We can look at many other lights, including the backup lights, the stop lights, the high mount center brake light in the back, the daytime running lights, the fog lights, the turn signals, the parking lights. You can do both right and left, front and rear. Here we can take a look at the engine control module and look at all the data available in the engine control. Quite extensive list of all of the different sensor values within the engine control. We can also do the same thing we did with some of the other modules and go into the control functions, such as the cooling fan. All right, so there's a small sample of the capabilities of GDS2, which gives you full dealer functionality for diagnostic software, which you can use either a J2534 device or the GM-MDI.
Today we have Kurt Emicus with us from Volkswagen. Hello, Kurt.
Hi, Brian.
Kurt is in charge of all things aftermarket within Volkswagen Service. Today, the big question on everybody's mind, Kurt, is in the aftermarket, what does a technician have access to for the diagnostic system? So Kurt, if you could give us a tour of the OE diagnostic system, that would be excellent.
Sure, Brian. This is our factory tool. It's a VAS 6150C. It's a Panasonic Tuckbook, a CF53 model with some internal hardware changes to make it more ruggedized. It's got a solid state hard drive and some other things. The interface is called a VAS 5054A. It's a wireless interface, but it also has accommodation for a wired cable, an Ethernet cable. We recommend that for any reprogramming or immobilizer events that you're doing, simply for security's sake. These are available from Snap-on Business Solutions through our Irwin website. If you go onto the tools section, there is a description of how to order one of those. If you don't want to use the factory tool, it works on also a standard laptop with a J2534 interface device, and it worked just fine. The software is available on our Irwin website for both units. This is our Irwin homepage. It's our service information site for Volkswagen. When you go to Vehicle Diagnostics on the top of the Irwin homepage, you come to the registration and installation process for ODIS. Step one is registration. You have to fill out a registration form where you get a site ID, which allows you to continue with the process. The next step, step two, is where you go to order the software. It comes to you on a DVD, and it's one DVD for all brands. Step three is getting a certificate for your laptop. You need that site ID that was issued in step one to to get the certificate, and also get two other pieces of information, what they call an org ID and a global user ID. The org ID is then used to get licensing, and that's what will identify what brands you have available that you can use, Volkswagen, Audi, and so forth. You use the org ID to get the licensing. The fifth step is subscription. It's available by subscription, and what that allows you to do then is get periodic updates of the software throughout a year.
So Kurt, now that you've showed us what the system is and where to get it, can you give us a demonstration of how it works?
Yeah, I sure can. We're at the home screen of the diagnostic system. If you look down here in the lower left-hand corner, you can see this little icon. That's going to be on your desktop when you open it up. You just click on that, and this is where you go to. And then we're going to start a diagnostic session. We're going to look at all the modules, and it'll run through them all and see what's on this car. So we start diagnostics. Here we go. We'll get a control module list. Here it's going to ask you what kind of car you have. So in this case, we're running a 2013 GTI, so we're going to call that a 5K, which is actually in the Golf series. Automatically fills the year in based on the VIN and the fact that it's a sedan. Then the next thing you have to select is the engine type. Since it is a GTI, we're going to go with the turbo 2-liter, which is what we have. And we click on Apply. This is the screen that comes up with your username and password. For those of you who are online, this is where you would enter your global user ID and password to actually get access to the application. This one's a standalone unit, so we don't have to do that today. But here it comes up with an RO screen with you can enter repair order information and print that out if you've got a customer repair order. So we'll go past that. We'll click on No RO. And now what it'll start to do is do a list of control modules that are on the car. So right now it's doing that function. It's actually checking to see what control modules are here. There we go. Now it's starting to fill those in. First one you see is the engine control module. And it'll run through all the ones that could possibly be on the car and identify the ones that are there. The ones that are grayed out are ones that are not on the vehicle, or at least, or maybe not even communicating. Now you can start to see the list start to build. There's another way to look at this. If you don't want the list version, which I like, is the network diagram. Now this divides it up by the different protocols on the car. The ones that are highlighted in red are the ones that have a DTC associated with them. So here's the whole module diagram. Some of the other things you can do, if you go over here to Extras and click on that button on the right side, here's where you see a list of different functions. Diagnostic interface. This is where you would, if you had a J2534 device, this is where you would select that. Change VCI. Tells you where to do that. Okay. The other thing what you have here is road test mode. Since if you are connected to the internet and you want to take this out on the road and road test the car, you activate road test mode, which allows you then to disconnect from the internet. Then when you get back out of that, when you come back from the road test, you click out of road test mode and it takes you right back to where you were before. Then another interesting thing to look at is the help screen. Let me get to that piece. Wherever you are on ODIS, if you click on help, there is a help screen. It's a big PDF that of 512 pages, and you can go to exactly the place that you're looking at within ODIS. That's it.
So now we've run the health check. Can we see like a live data list?
Yeah, let's see if I can find that. Now what we have here is a diagram of all the modules that are on the car, and they're laid out by the protocols. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to go to the engine control module and read data. We go to guided functions, double click on the module, guided functions, and then we're going to go reading measured values, engine, perform. Okay. This we're going to continue. There we go. Now you're seeing all the different modules that are on the vehicle, and you can select them. Click on OK. All right, now you're going to see values that change. Show. Yeah, now we're showing some voltage changes. Throttle angle, we're at 92%, back down, so forth. We could start the car up, and then the mass airflow and the oxygen sensor units would also change. All right, we're back to the list of modules on the car, and we're going to test the operation of the windshield wipers. So they're in the central electrics section or module. Right click on that, go to guided functions, and we're going to go to output DTM, perform. There's the usual warnings. Click on that. Go to number 3, which is windshield wiper washer system on the right side there. Okay. Go to number 2, which is wiper. Now it tells you to make sure that the hood is closed. Okay. Now we're going to start the test. There we go. All right, that'll just continue running till we cancel the test. Takes it a second for it to shut off. There we are. I know we just scratched the surface on what this tool can do, but it's the exact same tool that used by the dealers. You can use it with our factory scan tool, or you can use it with a standard laptop and a J2534 device. It covers several brands, all the Volkswagen AG brands, including Volkswagen, Audi, Bentley, Lamborghini, and Bugatti if you happen to have one. So thank you very much.